Sun's bright. Okay, so it's Monday, March 26th, I think. It's 26th today. Anyway, I had a video uploaded briefly on Friday, and it only got 8 views, and I think the reason it only got 8 views is because, sorry about that, is because I used the term faggotry in the title. They don't like the F word on the YouTubes. So yeah, I took it down because if it's not going to get views, there's no point in putting it up, right? Anyway, I guess this weekend there was the March for Our Lives on Washington, D.C., where the Stoneman Douglas school students went and spoke at length about gun violence in America, as though they have a unique perspective because they were at the school where there was a mass shooting. A mass shooting wherein the Broward County deputies waited outside and hid and cowered while this kid, I think his name is Nicholas Cruz, shot up the staff and students there. But somehow it's the NRA's fault. Somehow it's lawful gun owners' fault that this happened. So they marched on Washington, D.C., and initial reports said that there were 800,000 people there. Well, now it turns out there was probably less than that. Probably far, far less. Probably only about 200,000 people there. Less than the March for Life that happened, I think, a month or so ago. People went to Washington to protest abortion. But the media was in full swing, you know, talking about this event, giving airtime to this David Hogg kid, who is, I don't know, he strikes me as a petulant brat, and I'm going to use the term crisis actor, not because I think there was a false flag at Stoneman Douglas, that's not what I'm talking about, but that he's conveniently put in front of the cameras and has very specific things that he wants to say. And when people ask him about, you know, an alternative viewpoint, or, you know, the fact that Broward County sheriffs stood outside, that the resource officer hid in a stairwell, even though he was armed, and he didn't engage the shooter. He goes, well, I wouldn't want to engage a shooter if he had an AR-15. Going up against him with just a handgun. Way to stick to the narrative there, Hogg. The whole point of having an armed resource officer on site is to deal with situations like that. And if you're saying that he shouldn't have to, because the kind of firepower that the assailant had was bigger and scarier looking than what he had, you're not being very genuine. You're being ridiculous. Now, one of the things that happened over the weekend on social media regarding the March for Our Lives was one of the media darlings from Stoneman Douglas, this woman, Emma Gonzalez, this girl, Emma Gonzalez, who, you've seen her, she's got a shaved head, and she speaks very pointedly about the issue. She tore up what looks like a target, like a you know, a shooting target, something you would use at a shooting range to practice your shooting skills. And what somebody did was they photoshopped it to look like the Bill of Rights or the Declaration of Independence. And so the right-wing Twitter sphere went nuts, and I'll be honest, I was fooled, because that's a damn good Photoshop, because it was a video, a GIF So whoever photoshopped it, photoshopped the animated action of ripping the piece of paper. Which leads me to think, and here's my conspiracy theory, leads me to think that the Photoshop was done by people on the left to show how stupid and how gullible people on the right are, right? Because plenty of people fell for it, because it looks like that's exactly what she's doing. I fell for it until, of course, 10 hours later it was released on Twitter that, no, she didn't rip the Declaration of Independence. She ripped up a target. Never mind that, finding the original GIF of the target was not very, well, it wasn't very easily found, let's say that. It was only the debunked video that was, in the forefront. And maybe not, I mean, like I said, conspiracy theory, right? But it's not an unheard of tactic in meme warfare. So anyway, now what's interesting is there's video footage of Emma Gonzalez talking about how she knew Nicholas Cruz from the time she was young, like in middle school, and he was the victim of bullying. He was treated poorly. Now, I don't think Nicholas Cruz should be deemed a victim here. He's a scumbag with a violent history. But she came out on video saying, yeah, we mistreated him, but you don't know this kid. He was a terrible person. So that's why we mistreated him. We bullied him because he deserved it. So it's just kind of interesting. That had it been any other situation, maybe he committed suicide or whatever, the bullying would be in the forefront. But that he snapped and went out and killed a bunch of people, some of whom may have been his tormentors in high school or in grade school or whatever. That's irrelevant. It's all about the guns, folks. And it's really, really irritating and disheartening to hear them talk about how this is the NRA's fault, it's Marco Rubio's fault, it's everybody's fault, but the shooter and the Broward County deputies who let it happen. The deputies and the sheriff's office who had been called to this kid's house because of complaints of violence, like dozens and dozens of times. The FBI were notified that he was going to be a school shooter. He even called the police up and said, I'm going to shoot up a school in the weeks leading up. And nobody did anything. Almost as though there was a narrative that wanted to be spun, and they're like, hey, if we can get this narrative out, then we should let it get out. We should let this be as tragic as possible so that we can push for stricter gun control. And these kids, they don't lie about what their intentions are. They talk about how one of them, the blonde broad who wears the ridiculous looking glasses, she said, we're not here for crumbs. They'll give us the bump stock ban. They'll give us the inch, and we're going to take a mile. Meaning, they're not going to be happy with reducing the lethality of semi-automatic rifles by banning bump stocks, which nobody really gives a fuck about bump stocks. They're not going to be happy until the AR-15 is banned. They're not going to be happy until they have gun laws like we have in Canada, where the police force, the federal police force, can decide which guns are legal, which guns aren't. Where they can just outright say, okay, this weapon, this handgun, this rifle that is in the hands of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in the country is now illegal. And if you possess it, you're a criminal. That's what they're looking for. They say, oh, we don't want to ban your guns. Yeah, you do. And I was accused of being paranoid yesterday because somebody posted something about the whole thing, and I said, yeah, you know, you're using your First Amendment rights to take away people's Second Amendment rights. Somebody accused me of hyperbole, said I was paranoid that the Democrats, the big bad Democrats, are going to come and take our guns. That's exactly what they want to do. They want to make people dependent on the state to provide protection, and the state's terrible at it. Their response time is awful, and in the case of Stoneman Douglas, they'll sit outside by their cruisers, cowering in fear, and won't go and engage an active shooter. So I don't blame the Americans who say, I'm not getting rid of my guns, and if you try and take them, I'm going to resist. And if that's what they're trying to do, and it seems like that's what the Democrats are trying to do and the left are trying to do, they're in for a bloody civil war. It's going to be nasty. It's not going to be pleasant. So I hope you're prepared for it. Anyway, I won't be making a video this Friday because I'll be out of country doing some traveling. So thank you for watching this one though, and I'll upload it shortly, and talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.